Welcome to KSPR's Survive the Storm with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy, Meteorologist Lindsay Slater, and Meteorologist Bob Trihey. Now, KSPR Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy.
They are the most powerful storms on our planet, causing billions of dollars in damage every year. With winds of 300 miles per hour, tornadoes can make an ordinary day into one you will never forget for the rest of your life.
On Saturday, May 10th of 2008, it was a beautiful spring day. I had mowed the yard and the temperature was about 80 degrees.
It was a quiet Mother's Day weekend in the tiny southwest Missouri town of Racine, where Tom Cook, his wife, and daughter were enjoying a quiet Saturday, until Tom started to take notice of the weather.
One of the local weathermen come on and said that there was a tornado on the ground, and about that time it started hailing, and it was the biggest hail I've ever seen, just huge chunks of ice. I knew something was up then. I knew something was unusual.
What Tom didn't know was that an EF4 tornado just tore apart Pitra, Oklahoma, and was headed right for his family.
It got dark then, and the hail was hailing harder, and I thought, well, I'm going to definitely have some roof damage. And I told them to get down the hall into our bathroom. I got them down. I got the daughter down on the floor, and the wife got down on top of her, and I walked back down the hall toward the kitchen. About that time, our double windows in the kitchen, which is on the west side of the house, just blew in, just like a bulldozer had been out there and pushed them in. And I thought, well, here it is. So I went back in the bathroom and got down on them and was holding on to them. Then the roof come off the house, and I couldn't hold on to them. I was flying through the air with sheet metal and 2x4s and trees, and you come to the conclusion, and rightfully so, that this is it, you know. All these 58 years, I know the ending now. Then I hit the ground, and I opened my eyes. I never passed out. I opened my eyes and thought, God, how lucky you are. So I sat up and I looked back toward the house, trying to kind of find out where I landed, and there was no house. It was down to the concrete block. And then that terrible feeling that I've got to find my wife and child. Where are they? And I could see Ryan standing up, my daughter Ryan standing up down there. As I got closer, I could see that she was standing over her mother. She wasn't lucid, but she could talk and say, yes, I'm okay. And you say all the things she wanted to say that, you know, you might not have another chance to say again. Told her I loved her and she was going to be all right. And then, honestly, I was just amazed that we were all alive.
Initially, it seemed like everything was okay, but the following day, Tom's wife was suffering from internal bleeding that no one was aware of.
About 2 o'clock that afternoon, the nurses I saw were concerned, acting concerned, you know, and talking in quiet voices around me, and they came in and said, Mr. Cook, your wife is, you know, code red, and I wasn't for sure what that meant. I think I did, but I didn't want to believe it. At about 2:30, she died. And I told the doctors over there, I said, I've just lost my wife. And I can't afford to lose my daughter too, so I said, you better take damn good care of her.
Is it hard to look at the pictures, I mean, after this time, or?
No, just this one. These are just things, they don't mean nothing. I mean, you get hardened to feel anything. The first thing I had to do was I wasn't going to subject my daughter or me to a situation like that again.
Tom decided to buy a storm shelter.
But everybody said, you've done your time in the barrel. The odds of you being hit again is astronomical, and you're kind of foolish for spending that money.
But Tom was about to go through it all over again because he moved to a town just 15 miles to the north.
At about 5:30, the sirens went off. And Ryan and I, we had practiced this. We grabbed our billfolds and cell phones and things like that. The storm was so wide you couldn't delineate a funnel. It was just a big black cloud coming in. The second siren went off. Well, this time it went off one time, and the siren I knew was about 2 blocks west of me. And usually it cycles 3 or 4 times and dies down. Well, this went off once and it was gone. And I took off for a run for the safe. And I got the door shut, and that's when it hit.
Oh, it's getting big, 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 big.
Another tornado, this time an EF5 with winds of 200 miles per hour, was ripping apart the Cook family home.
I told Ryan maybe it just damaged the house and it won't be as bad. But then you hear the raindrops on the roofs of the metal safe, and you know it's done it again. Then everything's gone again. But I did open the door opened east towards St. John's Hospital. In the normal times, you wouldn't have been able to see it for the houses and the trees, but there it was, just stark. This huge building that was just destroyed. Everything was flattened between me and the hospital and on each side. The metal safe was all that was there.
Everything was destroyed around the Cook's home. They had now survived 2 tornadoes, but this time, things were different.
The main difference between these storms was $100,000 in hospital bills and a funeral, because I had protection in the second one. I spent that $4,000 hoping to never need it, but the unbelievable happened. I've lost that ability to say, well, hell, nothing can happen to me again. I'll win the lottery before that happens. It's happened twice. I don't not only expect it to happen, it's just when. And if I can get to that safe, I know that I'll have a real good chance of surviving it. It's just, me and the kid can't go through that no more.
Tom and his daughter Ryan rebuilt their home for the 3rd time and still live in Joplin. I know not everyone can afford a storm shelter, but at least have an action plan and know where to go if a tornado is threatening.
Storm shelters can give you the best chance of surviving a violent tornado. But how much does a shelter cost? And what goes into choosing one that's right for you? Jerry Jacob gives us a closer look.
When the wind starts blowing, you better know where you're going. To survive the storm, you really only have 2 options. 1, get low, below ground level, so the missiles from the storm fly over you. Your only other option, get inside a strong, sturdy shelter. Quickly. Something that will survive impacts outside while you're protected inside.
This is Dan Morley. He knows it takes a lot for a shelter to survive the strongest of storms.
Inside the shelter with Dan, and Dan, it's not just the materials, it's the design here that makes the difference and makes it safe for people.
Correct. It's not just a square metal box. It has to be put together correctly. It has to meet certain standards and specs. You're dealing with severe weather, and it could really cause a problem if you don't have a safe place. This is a safe place when we're done with it.
And you know it's safe because
we've had it tested.
Dan Morley's company, Safety First Shelters, is one of many selling peace of mind and possibly life-saving protection.
Above ground shelters come in a variety of sizes. Dan calls this one the Hunker Bunker. He'll paint it any color you want. It holds up to 3 people. This is the largest. It holds 8.
this is a smaller one. This is about the size of a porta-john.
Almost. It's 4 people size.
$3,000 to $5,000 is the cost of buying one of these shelters. The cost of not buying one is potentially much more.
Coming up on Survive the Storm.
She's afraid she's not going to get out because the water is like up, almost up to her waist.
Waters flood a small Ozarks town. Tonight, less than a year later, how they're now coping and the changes that have been made since then. Also, what would you do if you were in your car and a tornado was headed straight for you? Believe it or not, sometimes staying in your car may be the best option. We explain why next on Survive the Storm. Welcome back to Survive the Storm. Here's meteorologist Lindsay Slater.
Missouri is no stranger to severe weather. On the fringes of Tornado Alley, we typically see 45 tornadoes a year. On May 31st of last year, a massive 2.5-mile-wide tornado formed outside of Oklahoma City near the town of El Reno. This tornado became known for not only its track, which took an odd northeasterly turn, stunned even the most experienced meteorologist, but for its first rating of an EF5, which the National Weather Service soon changed to an EF3.
Following big tornadoes, the National Weather Service goes out and does a ground survey. In the case of the El Reno tornado, looking at the damage, it was estimated of winds of perhaps 160 miles per hour. The initial estimate was based upon the Doppler radar on wheels, 200 mile per hour winds.
Doppler on wheels is just that, a radar that moves around, but it's not recognized as an official rating for a tornado.
The EF scale is based upon going out and looking at what a tornado has damaged as an indication of what the wind speeds were. If we start to utilize things like portable Doppler radar data, we have to make sure that it is indicative of what the wind speeds are like at ground level.
The Dow actually measures winds inside of the tornado, and in the El Reno tornado, those winds were measured at 295 miles an hour, and this is between 200 and 500 feet. Here's the thing, tornadoes are assessed based on the damage they produce at the ground. So that unfortunately doesn't make the Dow an official measurement. The National Weather Service has to use the damage indicated by the storm. And in this case, it was more conducive with EF3 damage versus EF5 damage. The National Weather Service uses 28 different indicators when assessing storm damage. And you can even look through some of these papers and you can see that we're talking loss of roof coverings and moldings removed. Here's the thing, if a tornado strikes in a rural area, these things are not present. So when the tornado hits that area, you're not going to get damage accessible. Therefore, it's hard for the National Weather Service to give a rating to tornadoes that hit rural areas. The debate over using Doppler on wheels versus destruction left behind is still fresh. But as technology evolves, the likelihood for devices being capable of measuring tornado wind speeds will become more prevalent in the near future. This could once again change the EF scale and how tornadoes are rated.
For the past 16 years, storm chasers have gathered together in Denver, Colorado to learn more about storm chasing. It was an event that started out in someone's backyard with just a few people, but now 400 chasers come together. But not all chasers are alike.
David Hoadley is one of the first ever storm chasers.
Been chasing for 57 years.
And logged a ton of tornadoes.
I've seen 224. Started in Bismarck, North Dakota as a teenager. At that time, tornadic storms were a real mystery.
Storm chasing has become widely popular over the last decade. Many attribute the chasing boom to shows like the Discovery Channel Storm Chasers and from the countless YouTube videos showing storm chasers pushing the envelope with storms more than ever before. And as a result, a new breed of storm chasers is born.
Biggest driving on chasing has been just the will to go, the adrenaline rush.
The adrenaline rush, you get it, it just gets going, and it's awesome.
Ears are popping. Today, many of them are more interested in how close can we get. The dramatic video, they can sell it maybe to the media. I was this close, my ears popped, I lost the windshield to my car.
But some chasers have a good reason to get that close. Take Tim Samaras, one of the most well-respected chasers in the industry, who had to be close to deploy these tornado pods that recorded data to study tornadoes. Tragically, though, Tim, along with his son Paul and chase partner Carl Young, died in the El Reno, Oklahoma tornado last year. And it was the first time ever that a tornado directly took the lives of storm chasers.
You realize that it's a historic moment in storm chasing. Things have happened now that it'll never be the same again.
Started thinking more of, yes, it could happen to us, it's happened to the best. Maybe we need to play it a little bit safer.
I think it helps a lot of people think, wow, if the best, if that can happen, maybe we need to, reevaluate some of the things we do.
I don't think we've seen the last of the fatalities, unfortunately. I think there will be more.
Storm chasing is here to stay, and the popularity may be a good thing.
How many people over the last 10 years, if one could ever document it, are actually alive today because storm chasers made it popular and made it something that everybody thought about and talked about? I saw this on a storm chase video, or I saw this, it looked bad, so I took shelter. And I'm alive today. Who knows? What is the number? That would be an interesting statistic.
Storm chasing can be very dangerous, especially here in the Ozarks, where hilly terrain and trees can often obscure a tornado. When a tornado warning is issued, always take shelter.